James had always been ordinary. He worked in a small tech store in the heart of the city, lived in a cramped apartment, and spent most of his evenings scrolling through videos online. Nothing in his life suggested that he would ever be part of something extraordinary. But that evening, as he leaned back in his chair, sipping a cold soda, ordinary ended. It all began as a joke. James was live on his personal streaming channel, chatting with his small group of followers. He laughed and said, "I'm single, completely, painfully, ridiculously single." The comment drew a few chuckles from the viewers, but nothing unusual happened. At least, nothing at first. Then the screen flickered. At first, he thought it was a glitch. The colors on his monitor twisted strangely, like a liquid rainbow. The chat froze, and then a message appeared. Not in the chat, not on the stream, but directly on his main screen in letters he had never seen before. "We have been watching. Come, your presence is required." James froze. He blinked several times. Surely this was some prank, some advanced hacker pulling a joke. He muttered, "Okay, that's weird," but his fingers itched to type a response. "Who is this?" he wrote quickly. Seconds later, a new line appeared. "There is no time. Departure is now. Refusal is impossible." James laughed nervously, rubbing his eyes. "Impossible? Really? What? Am I being recruited for a secret government experiment? Or is this some alien marketing scam?" He shook his head. "I need call my friends. Someone, anyone needs to see this." Before he could dial his phone, the room around him shimmered. The walls of his apartment blurred and stretched. The floor beneath him felt like water. The next moment, James was no longer in his room. He was floating, not in a dream, not in a video game, but in a vast, glowing chamber filled with soft blue light. The walls were curved, smooth, and shimmered with strange energy. In the center of the room stood two figures. James's heart skipped a beat. Two women. No, not exactly women. They were aliens, but humanoid. Their skin glowed faintly. Their eyes sparkled like twin galaxies, and their hair shimmered as if woven from starlight. Both of them were identical. Yet James could sense subtle differences in their presence. They were beautiful, powerful, and intimidating. One of them stepped forward, her voice calm but commanding. "James, do not be afraid. You have been chosen." "Chosen?" James repeated, his voice shaky. I don't even know what's happening." The other twin smiled faintly. "You are human, yes, but your mind, your instincts, they are rare. The galaxy has been watching your kind, and now your presence is needed." James swallowed hard. "Needed? For what?" "Look, I appreciate the invitation, but I think there's been a mistake. I'm just a normal guy. I make bad jokes online." "That's it." The first twin tilted her head, studying him carefully. "You underestimate yourself. Your humor, your quick thinking, your unpredictability. These are strengths. Strengths that your species has ignored for centuries. Here they will matter." James blinked. "Wait, you mean humans matter? To the galaxy? You gotta be joking." The twins did not laugh. Instead, a holographic map unfolded in the air between them. Stars, planets, and strange symbols filled the space. Lines connected one world to another, forming a complex network that James could barely understand. "You see this?" the first twin said. "This is the galaxy, and soon it will change. We need you to be part of that change. You cannot refuse." James took a step back, his mind racing. I can't just leave Earth. My life, my job, my friends." "You will leave," the second twin said gently, "because choice is an illusion here. Only action remains. You have no reason to fear, only reason to prepare." Before he could respond, a sudden vibration ran through the chamber. The walls pulsed with energy. James stumbled slightly, catching himself on the edge of the glowing floor. "Okay, wait. Prepare for what? What am I preparing for?" The twins exchanged a glance, almost amused. "You will see soon enough," the first said. "But know this, human. Your life will never be ordinary again. You have crossed the threshold. There is no turning back." James's stomach twisted. Fear, excitement, disbelief, all collided inside him. His world had shifted in an instant. One moment, he was a single human in a small city apartment. The next, he was standing before beings from another galaxy, beings who claimed his presence could change the course of history. And then he realized something. For the first time in his life, he did not feel small. Somewhere deep inside, a spark of courage ignited. The spark whispered, maybe this is your chance. The twins' eyes shone brighter, as if they sensed a change. Good, the first said softly. Soon, you will learn why humans are no longer just observers. Soon, you will see what you are truly capable of. James nodded slowly, trying to steady his racing heart. Whatever this was, whatever awaited him, he could not turn back now. The adventure had begun, and somewhere, deep in the galaxy, a new story was about to unfold. James blinked against the soft glow of the chamber. The twins' presence was overwhelming, but somehow it was not threatening. Their energy filled the space, but it felt alive, like the room itself was breathing with them. You will come with us, said the first twin, her voice calm, yet firm. There is much to show you. You must understand the galaxy and your place in it. James swallowed, trying to steady his shaking hands. Look, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm just a human. I barely know anything about space, alien worlds, or whatever this is. The second twin smiled faintly. That is exactly why we chose you. Your mind is flexible. Your species learns, adapts, survives in ways many of the older civilizations cannot. Before James could respond, the floor beneath him shimmered and dissolved into thin air. Panic surged. He stumbled but did not fall. Instead, he realized he was floating, or perhaps walking on a surface made of light. The twins guided him forward, their movements graceful, almost gliding. A doorway appeared ahead, glowing like a portal. Step through, the first twin said. You will see your transport. With a deep breath, James stepped forward. The world shifted again. The glowing chamber dissolved, replaced by a vast ship interior. It was unlike anything he had imagined. The walls curved into sleek arcs, smooth and silver, with faint lights tracing circuits across them. Strange symbols flickered in the air, pulsing like living code. The hum of energy vibrated through the floor. James felt both terrified and exhilarated. This is incredible, he murmured. The second twin stepped beside him. This is the Aurelia. It travels faster than light, yet remains perfectly stable. Soon you will see its power. Soon you will learn to command it. James's jaw dropped. Command it? I can't even fly a car properly. How am I supposed to command? The twins exchanged a glance, amused but patient. You will learn, but first, you must meet others aboard the ship. They led him to a large hall filled with beings of various shapes and sizes. Some were tall, with translucent skin that shimmered in rainbow colors. Others had multiple limbs, eyes that rotated, or wings that glimmered like fine glass. James felt a shiver of awe. You are seeing only a fraction, said the first twin. All these civilizations are aware of humans, but very few have met them in person. Few know that your species possesses qualities rare in the galaxy: unpredictability, creativity, and resilience. A small, robotic assistant rolled up to James, chirping in a metallic voice. Welcome, human. Initiate orientation protocols. James stared. Orientation? Seriously? Yes, said the second twin. There is much to learn. You will not be a passive observer. You will act. You will make choices. And your choices will have consequences far beyond your home planet. James's mind spun. I don't even know where to start. The first twin's eyes softened. Start here. Humans think in linear ways. You think in stories and possibilities. That is why you are important. You see paths that others cannot. And soon, you will need every skill you have, every instinct, every idea, to survive what comes next. Suddenly, an alarm sounded through the ship. Red lights flashed along the walls. James jumped back. What is happening? The second twin's expression sharpened. An intruder detected. Do not be afraid, but stay close. This will be your first test." From the shadows, a sleek alien scout emerged. Its eyes glowed crimson. It moved quickly, almost too fast to see. The twins raised their hands, and beams of energy struck the intruder, holding it at bay. James instinctively ducked behind a console. His heart raced. "Wait, do I do something?" The first twin looked at him. "Yes, trust yourself. You can contribute. Use your instincts. Remember, humans are unpredictable." James took a shaky step forward. He glanced around and noticed a control panel he had never seen before. Symbols and levers seemed chaotic, but something inside him clicked. He reached out and pressed a combination of buttons almost randomly. Immediately, a force field dropped around the intruder, trapping it. The scout struggled, but it could not escape. The twins turned to James, surprised. "Well done," said the second twin. "Your mind, your choices, they made the difference. Few beings could have acted like that in time." James exhaled, shaking. I actually did something." "Yes," said the first twin. "And this is only the beginning. Humans are underestimated for a reason. But now, you have begun to show why you are different." James felt a mixture of pride and fear. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries. And yet, for the first time, he felt a strange certainty. He was not powerless. He was not ordinary. The twins led him to a viewing platform overlooking the stars. "Look at this," said the second twin. "All of this, the planets, the empires, the civilizations, awaits. And you will be part of it." James stared at the endless expanse. Stars, nebulae, and distant worlds stretched farther than he could imagine. His heart raced. He had crossed into a new life, one filled with danger, wonder, and responsibility. And somewhere deep inside, he knew nothing would ever be the same again. James could hardly sleep that night. Not that he had a bed on the Aurelia, but the chambers felt alive, humming with energy that seeped into his thoughts. He kept thinking about the scout, the strange aliens, and the glowing twins who seemed to see right through him. Somehow, he was already part of a galaxy far larger than he had ever imagined. Morning, or what passed for morning on the ship, came with a call from the first twin. "James, it is time to see where your choices may matter," she said. Her eyes glimmered with seriousness. "We will visit our worlds. You must understand them if you are to survive what comes next." James followed the twins into a chamber that looked like an enormous sphere. The walls displayed the two planets side by side, one lush green and teeming with life, the other dark, metallic, and harsh. The twin spoke softly. "These are our worlds," said the second twin. "Leora, the green world, values peace, art, and knowledge. Zarkin, the dark world, values strength, power, and discipline. Both need your presence, though neither would admit it openly." James stared. "Both worlds need me? I'm just human. What could I possibly do for alien civilizations?" The first twin smiled faintly. "You will see soon enough. But beware, your actions here may tip balances that have existed for centuries." Before James could respond, the ship's engines hummed and shifted. The view outside the sphere blurred, replaced by the surface of Leora. The moment James stepped down, he felt the difference. The air smelled sweet, like flowers and rain. Trees towered high, glowing faintly under the sunlight, and rivers of crystal blue water flowed calmly between them. Alien creatures of all shapes wandered peacefully. Music, real music, filled the air, though no instruments were visible. "This is beautiful," James whispered. The twins nodded. "Leora nurtures the mind and the spirit, but beauty can hide weakness. The leaders fear conflict too much, and the world can crumble without strength." James followed them through cities built in harmony with nature, meeting beings who regarded him with curiosity. Everywhere he went, whispers followed him. Humans were rare, even legendary. Then the twins turned the ship, and in an instant, the view shifted to Zarkin. The world was the opposite of Leora. Metallic mountains jutted sharply into the sky, and rivers of molten energy cut through the land. The air was thick with heat and electricity. Ships hovered in formation above massive cities that gleamed like dark jewels. Soldiers trained ceaselessly in enormous arenas. This world, said the first twin, believes that strength alone ensures survival, yet it underestimates humans. They assume you are weak, unpredictable, unworthy. They are wrong. James swallowed. He had never felt so small in his life. The sheer scale, the discipline, the power, it was intimidating. They landed near a massive training ground. Soldiers paused and stared at him, whispering. James felt sweat prick his forehead. One of the twins leaned closer. Your human mind is your weapon, she said softly. They see muscle and size, but you see possibilities. That is your strength. A sudden alarm echoed across Zarkin. James tensed. The twins' eyes narrowed. Do you hear that? James asked. Yes, said the second twin. It is the tension between worlds. Leora fears Zarkin's growing influence. Zarkin underestimates Leora's intelligence. And both see humans as insignificant. That is about to change. Before James could process, a small scout appeared, darting toward him. It was similar to the intruder from the ship, but faster, smarter. James's heart pounded. He had never fought anyone before. Not really, but instinct took over. He scanned the environment, spotting weak points in the ground, loose stones, and small machinery. Using what he'd seen on the ship, he improvised a trap. The scout fell into it, trapped and immobilized. James staggered back, breathing heavily. The twins looked at him with quiet approval. Your instincts, they are remarkable, said the first twin. You may be human, but you act in ways no other species would consider. That is why we brought you here. You will tip the scales of history. James stared at the world before him. Leora, peaceful and nurturing. Zarkin, harsh and disciplined. Both vast, both powerful. And he, an ordinary human, was already influencing them. The twins guided him back to the ship. As they left Zarkin, James realized something terrifying and exciting. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of this galaxy's fate. Why me? James asked quietly as the stars streaked past the windows. The second twin's eyes glimmered. Because humans are unpredictable. Because you see paths others cannot. And because one day, your decisions will shape the future of more worlds than you can imagine. James sank into a seat, his mind spinning. The galaxy was larger, stranger, and more dangerous than anything he had known. And somewhere deep inside, he felt a thrill. He had crossed into something bigger than life itself. For the first time, James understood the weight of possibility and the danger of power. And he also knew this was only the beginning. The Aurelia hummed softly as it soared through the stars. James sat on the observation deck, staring out at the endless galaxies. He could feel the pull of the twin world behind him. Leora, peaceful yet fragile, and Zarkin, harsh but strong. And somewhere inside, the twins' words echoed. Your mind is your weapon. Your choices will shape history. He wasn't sure he believed it. He was still just a human. A single, ordinary human. And yet, he had already survived 2 encounters with dangerous alien scouts, using nothing but his instincts. The first twin appeared beside him, her eyes glowing faintly. James, it is time for your training. You will not survive in this galaxy relying on instinct alone. You must learn their ways and yours. James groaned. Training? I thought I'd just be learning about the worlds, maybe meeting leaders or watching. The second twin appeared behind him. Watching is not enough. You will act. You will fight. You will lead. And to do that, you must learn skills that no ordinary human possesses. Before he could protest, the chamber around him transformed. He was no longer in the observation deck. The walls dissolved into a holographic landscape, a mix of Leora's forests and Zarkin's training arenas. Floating platforms appeared, shimmering in midair. Weapons, tools, and consoles hovered around him. Welcome to your first simulation, said the first twin. Here, you will learn control, strategy, and adaptation. Failure has consequences, but survival is possible if you trust your instincts and mind. James looked around, overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. The second twin smiled. Start with your body. Humans are underestimated because of physical limits. But your mind can compensate, observe, learn, and act. The simulation began. Holographic enemies appeared, fast, strong, and unpredictable. James barely had time to react. He ducked, jumped, and ran, using the floating platforms to avoid attacks. He had never trained in combat before, but somehow his human intuition guided him. He noticed patterns, small weaknesses, and gaps in their movements. The twins watched silently, occasionally offering small hints, a gesture here, a word there. Slowly, James began to understand the rhythm of the simulation. "Good," said the first twin. "You are learning faster than expected. But speed is not enough. Strategy is key. Your species thinks differently. Use it." James took a deep breath and began improvising. He combined the environment with his instincts, creating traps for the holographic enemies. One by one, they fell. His heart raced. The simulation ended, and he collapsed on the platform, gasping for air. The twins approached. "You see, James," said the second twin, "your mind can achieve what others could not. Humans are unpredictable. They adapt. They survive. That is why you were chosen." James rubbed his forehead. I just got lucky, didn't I?" "No," said the first twin firmly. "Luck is irrelevant. You saw possibilities where others saw obstacles. That is intelligence. That is creativity. That is human strength." Over the next several days, or what felt like days in the ship's time, James trained relentlessly. The twins pushed him to his limits. He learned to control zero-gravity movement, floating and fighting in three-dimensional space. He practiced telepathy exercises, sensing the intentions of others before they acted. He mastered alien technology, navigating starship consoles that no human had ever touched. And he practiced strategic decision-making, running simulations of planetary conflicts and political crises. Each day, he grew stronger, not just physically, but mentally. The human's unpredictability became his greatest weapon. Then came the final test. The twins projected a battlefield, a chaotic mix of Leora's lush terrain and Zarkin's metallic arenas. Alien troops advanced, scouts and warriors attacking from all directions. "Your task," said the first twin, "is simple. Survive, lead, and turn the tide of battle, using only your instincts and what you have learned." James felt a surge of fear. He had never led anyone before, not even in a game, but he remembered the twins' words, "Trust yourself." He acted, using the environment, improvising traps, predicting enemy movements, and guiding simulated allies. James turned the battle around. The enemy fell back. The tide shifted. By the time the simulation ended, even the twins appeared impressed. "Remarkable," said the second twin. "Few species could have succeeded in such a trial. But humans adapt. They survive. And that is why you are needed." James slumped to the floor, exhausted but exhilarated. For the first time, he felt a strange pride. He was still human, still ordinary in many ways, but he was learning to be extraordinary in ways the galaxy had never expected. The first twin knelt beside him. "Remember this, James. Danger will come. Conflict will rise. But your mind, your courage, and your unpredictability, these will save you and others. Never forget what makes you human. That is your power." James nodded, determination burning in his chest. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but he would face it. And somehow he knew his real adventure was only beginning. James had grown stronger. His body was quicker, his mind sharper, and his instincts keener than ever. He had survived the twins' brutal training and learned to navigate the alien ship with confidence. Yet, nothing could have prepared him for the betrayal that awaited. The Aurelia sailed through a quiet sector space when alarms blared suddenly. Red lights flashed across the corridors, accompanied by the hum of energy weapons charging. James froze. The twins appeared instantly, their calm expressions replaced with alert tension. "An attack," said the first twin, her voice tight. "And not from the usual scouts. This is someone close, someone we trusted." James's heart pounded. "What do you mean? Who?" The second twin's eyes darkened. "You will see soon enough. Prepare yourself. They led him to the ship's command deck. On the main screen, a fleet of ships appeared, sleek, black, and aggressive. Their insignia was one the twins recognized immediately, a faction from Zarkin that had secretly allied with enemies in Leora. James felt a chill. He had seen political tension from afar, but now it was personal. Allies had betrayed them, and he, just a human, was caught in the middle. The first twin gestured at him. "James, your training begins in reality now. Observe, decide, and act. Humans think differently. That is why you are here." James swallowed hard. He had faced simulations before, but this was real. Lives and entire worlds could depend on his choices. The battle began. Laser blasts streaked across space. Shields flared and sparks rained down the ship's hull. James's mind raced. He analyzed the enemy movements, noticing patterns others might have missed. Using the console, he directed defensive maneuvers that even seasoned alien commanders would not have anticipated. "James!" shouted the second twin. "Prepare the interceptor drones. They will flank the attackers from the left." James acted instinctively, adjusting trajectories, timing energy pulses, and coordinating with the ship's AI. Slowly, the tide turned. Enemy ships faltered under the combined force of human unpredictability and alien technology. But then came the real betrayal. One of the twins' closest advisors, a trusted alien strategist, hacked into the ship's systems. Doors locked, weapons misfired, and shields faltered. James realized it immediately. The advisor's betrayal could have destroyed them in minutes. "Why?" James shouted, anger and fear surging. Why would anyone do this? The first twin's voice was steady but cold. Power, fear, greed. The same reasons humans sometimes betray one another, but amplified across a galaxy of advanced species. James clenched his fists. He could feel panic trying to creep in, but he pushed it down. He had trained for this. The same instincts that saved him in simulations now guided him. He analyzed the compromised systems, spotting the hack's weak points. Using a combination of alien technology and human ingenuity, he rewired the network from scratch, outsmarting the traitor. Energy pulses realigned, shields reactivated, and the fleet outside faltered under their counterattack. The betrayer realized James had outsmarted him. In a last desperate move, he sent a massive energy spike toward the ship's engine core. James dug toward the controls, heart racing, and rerouted power from auxiliary systems. The spike hit the shield instead of the core. The Aurelia shook violently but remained intact. The twins watched silently, a mix of pride and surprise in their eyes. "You did it," said the first twin softly. "You are extraordinary. Even we did not expect a human to save us in such a manner." James sank into a chair, exhausted. I just did what I thought was right. I didn't know if it would work." "That is precisely why humans are valuable," said the second twin. "Others follow rules, patterns, and traditions. You see possibilities that rules cannot predict. That is why you survived." The twins turned their attention back to the main screen. Enemy ships were retreating, but the galaxy had shifted. The betrayal had revealed cracks in the alliances, fractures in loyalty that could be exploited or could erupt into war. James stared out the stars, feeling a mixture of pride, fear, and responsibility. He was no longer just a human in a distant galaxy. He was a player in a game larger than anything he had imagined, a game of politics, power, and survival. The first twin approached him. "Remember this lesson, James. Trust is fragile. Allies may fall, and enemies may wear familiar faces. Your instincts and courage are your only certainty." James nodded, determination hardening within him. Betrayal had taught him something crucial. In this galaxy, nothing was guaranteed, and survival required both intelligence and courage. As the Aurelia sailed into stars, James realized one terrifying and thrilling truth. The galaxy was unpredictable, dangerous, and full of secrets, and somehow he was becoming someone who could face it. And somewhere, deep in the void, new threats were already forming, waiting for the right moment to strike. The galaxy was changing. After the betrayal, the twins' worlds were on edge. Alliances were broken, old grudges resurfaced, and war threatened to spread across sectors. Yet, amid the chaos, one human had begun to shine, James. He stood on the bridge of the Aurelia, watching fleets move across the stars. Ships from Leora prepared to defend their planet, while forces from Zarkin flexed their strength. Humans were not soldiers, not yet, but James's mind, quick and unpredictable, had become their secret advantage. "James," said the first twin, her eyes focused on a holographic map. "The enemy expects conventional strategy. They do not expect human thinking. That is why you will lead this mission." James's stomach tightened. Leading alien fleets? This was far beyond anything he had imagined. I'm just one person. How can I make a difference against all of them? The second twin stepped beside him. Humans have one advantage: creativity. They see solutions where others see obstacles. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. That is what makes you dangerous. The first battle began in the void above a contested star system. James observed the enemy's fleet carefully. Ships were lined up for standard attack formations, predictable and rigid. He realized instantly that the aliens underestimated human unpredictability. "Flank from the right," James ordered, pointing at the map. "Send drones to create false trails. Use the asteroid field for cover. And disrupt their communication arrays. They rely too much on coordination." The twins exchanged impressed glances. One by one, James's unconventional orders began to work. Enemy ships collided in confusion. Drones struck critical points, and communications failed. James's strategies allowed the smaller fleet to defeat a force 3 times its size. Amid the battle, James noticed a massive warship, a flagship, preparing to escape. Most commanders would have focused on holding positions or protecting their own forces. But James saw opportunity. "Intercept the flagship," he said calmly. "Use minimal energy. Let them think they are free. Then trap them in a net of drones. Timing is everything." The maneuver worked perfectly. The flagship was captured, its crew bewildered. James felt a surge of pride. The twins watched silently, but their expressions revealed approval. "You are learning quickly," said the second twin. "Humans are underestimated, but your decisions now save countless lives. Remember, your creativity is your weapon." But victory came with a warning. Scanners detected an incoming fleet from an unknown sector. Larger, stronger, and more organized than any James had faced before. "They're coming," James muttered, tension tightening his chest. "We need a plan, and fast." The first twin turned to him. "You will lead again. Use what you have learned. Trust yourself. Your people, your allies, the galaxy, they rely on you." James nodded. Fear still gripped him, but determination burned brighter. He thought quickly, combining strategies he had studied with instincts he had honed. He predicted enemy movements, exploited weaknesses in their formation, and created diversions. His unconventional approach threw the enemy into chaos before they could even react. By the end of the battle, the enemy fleet had retreated, their plans in ruins. James had done the impossible. One human had outsmarted advanced alien civilizations and turned the tide of war. The twins approached him, their expressions unreadable but proud. "You have done more than survive, James," said the first twin. "You have led. You have changed the course of history. Your species is underestimated. Yet here you are, proof of what humans can achieve." James sank into a chair, exhausted but exhilarated. I didn't even know I could do this. I'm just a human, ordinary, right?" "Ordinary?" said the second twin, her eyes glimmering. "Humans are extraordinary. Your ingenuity, your adaptability, your courage, they surpass what others expect. That is why the galaxy needs you." James stared at the stars, the endless possibilities stretching before him. For the first time, he felt the weight of responsibility and the thrill of potential. He was no longer just a human in a distant galaxy. He was a hero, a strategist, and a symbol of what humans could achieve. And somewhere, beyond the visible stars, the next challenge awaited. A threat larger, more cunning, and more dangerous than anything he had faced. James smiled faintly, determination steady in his chest. He had survived. He had adapted. He had risen. And he would face whatever came next. The galaxy had underestimated humans. They were about to learn. The galaxy was silent for a moment, as if holding its breath. James stood on the bridge of the Aurelia, staring at the holographic display of planets, fleets, and energy currents. The war was over, for now, but the cost had been high. Systems destabilized, leaders betrayed, and billions of lives had hung in the balance. The twin princesses approached him, their expressions calm but intense. "James," said the first twin, her voice steady, "you have changed the course of this galaxy. Entire civilizations have survived because of you, but now a choice awaits." James felt a chill. He had fought outsmarted enemies, led fleets, and survived betrayals. And now a decision, bigger than any battle, was in front of him. The second twin spoke softly. "You may stay. Rule beside us. Guide this galaxy. Use your human ingenuity to maintain peace and order. You will be honored, revered, even immortal, in the eyes of our civilizations." James shook his head. "And if I leave?" The first twin's eyes glimmered. "Return to Earth. Live your life as you knew it. But know this, the galaxy will remember your actions, and your species will be stronger because of them. Humans have changed more in a few years than any alien empire has in centuries." James turned away, staring at the stars. He thought of his apartment, his small city, his old life where he had worried about bills, streaming online, and being single. And he thought of the galaxy, its beauty, danger, and endless possibilities. He had been terrified when the twins first appeared, but now he felt power. He felt freedom. Yet freedom came with responsibility. The galaxy was at peace, but only because he had acted, only because humans had been underestimated, only because he had been willing to think differently. I don't know what to choose," James admitted. "Both paths, they feel right and wrong at the same time." The second twin stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Humans are unique. You think, you feel, you weigh choices. That is your strength. But remember, whatever path you take, it must be your own." James closed his eyes. He imagined himself staying, a human leader among alien civilizations, respected and powerful. But he imagined Earth too, the simplicity, the friends, the ordinary life he had once taken for granted. A small smile crossed his face. "I choose Earth," he said finally. "I will return, but I will carry everything I've learned. Humans, we may be small, but we can be clever, brave, and strong. That's how I will help my people from home." The twins nodded, a mixture of respect and approval in their eyes. "You are wise, James," said the first twin. "Few could have chosen with such clarity. Your species has potential beyond imagination, and you will remind them of it." The second twin extended her hand. "We will return you safely, but know this. You will always be part of this galaxy, and the galaxy will always remember the human who changed its fate." The Aurelia shimmered, energy flowing around James as the ship prepared to send him back. He felt the familiar pull, the strange sensation that had first brought him here. And then, with a rush of light, he was back. His apartment appeared around him, exactly as it had been. The faint hum of his computer, the glow of the city outside, and the quiet of night surrounded him. It was ordinary, comforting, normal. But James was not the same. He had survived battles, outsmarted enemies, and faced betrayal and danger across the stars. Humans were capable of more than anyone, himself included, had imagined. He sat at his desk, staring at the screen that had first brought the twins into his life. A soft glow shimmered across it, almost like a message, but there were no words. He smiled. That was enough. James knew that life on Earth would never feel small again. He would be ordinary to most, but extraordinary in ways that mattered. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the galaxy had been changed because a single human had dared to act, think, and fight differently. He leaned back in his chair, a quiet pride filling him. Humans had been underestimated, but now they had potential no alien could ignore. And James, ordinary, single, and human, had proven it. The stars outside twinkled like distant promises, and he knew one thing for certain. This was not the end. The adventure was only beginning. James had returned to Earth, back in his small apartment, back in his ordinary life. Or so it seemed. The hum of his computer, the flicker of city lights, and the quiet streets all welcomed him. But James knew better. He had seen world beyond imagination, fought enemies no one else knew existed, and realized that humans, his species, could be stronger, smarter, and braver than any alien had guessed. For days, he tried to settle back into normal life. He cooked meals, replied to messages, and even went back to streaming online. Yet the galaxy lingered in his mind. He remembered the twins' words. The galaxy will always remember the human who changed its fate. And he knew that was true. One night, as he scrolled through his favorite videos, his screen flickered. The way it had that first night, panic and curiosity surged through him. But this time it was different. There was no text, no instructions, only a soft, glowing light. It pulsed like a heartbeat. James leaned closer. The light shifted, forming shapes he didn't recognize. Symbols, constellation, coordinates. It was a message, but not in words he could read. Somehow, though he understood, the galaxy was calling again. He stood, heart racing. The twins had said humans were unpredictable. Maybe this was why. Maybe this was the next test, or opportunity. Whatever it was waiting for him beyond the stars. Suddenly, a shadow appeared behind him. James turned sharply. The room was empty. Only the glow of his computer filled the space. He rubbed his eyes, unsure if he was imagining things. But then came the sound, a soft hum, almost like energy moving through the air. And he realized this was not Earth technology. This was something else, something alien, something powerful. James's mind raced. Could it be the twins? Or had something new, something unknown, discovered humans? His heart pounded, but he felt something he hadn't felt since arriving in the galaxy. Anticipation. He had survived alien worlds, trained with the twins, led fleets, and faced betrayal. He had returned home, wiser, stronger, and aware of the human potential. But this was something entirely new. The glowing symbols shifted again, forming a pattern he could follow. A map, a route, somewhere far, far away. And for the first time in weeks, James smiled. I guess humans aren't done yet, he whispered to himself. He grabbed a backpack, a few essentials, and a small portable device the twins had given him before he left. It pulsed softly, responding to the glowing symbols. James didn't know where it would take him, or what he would face, but he knew one thing. He was ready. Humans were underestimated. The galaxy had learned that already. And James was about to remind them all once again. As he stepped into the night, leaving the familiar streets behind, the stars above seemed to shimmer brighter. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of danger, but also full of possibility. And for the first time, James felt the thrill of adventure not as a visitor, but as a human who could shape what came next. Somewhere across the galaxy, the twins watched, their eyes shining like distant suns. They knew the story was far from over. Humans had awakened, and this one, James, was only the beginning. The stars whispered promises of challenges, allies, and enemies yet to be seen. And one human, ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in action, was ready to face them all. The galaxy was no longer safe for the overconfident, the careless, or the cruel. Humans were here, and they had only just begun. James looked up at the night sky, determination blazing in his eyes. Adventure awaited, and this time he was going on his own terms.